All right, let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come together. Even though we have a room full of different opinions and different thoughts at times, please help us to have listening ears and open hearts, and to be respectful with one another. Just thank you that we are able to be here, really looking out for the best interests of our students, our children here in our county. So we just pray for your wisdom. We pray for your guidance. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I miss the students this time of year because we don't have any character programs. They're going to start back up in September with our recognitions and so forth with students. But we're going to skip straight now to the school board member committee reports. Do we have any of those? Oh, I haven't called order. Okay, I'm going to start there. I call this meeting to order. Ms. Howerton, roll call members, Ms. Howerton, Mr. Brantley, Ms. Compton-Twist, Ms. Shute, myself, Mr. Durrant, Superintendent, Dr. Brenda Longshore, Dr. John McClure, or Mr. John McClure, our school board attorney. Call him doctor. He's the doctorate of law, right? So, and then Mrs. Welburn, our board secretary. Now, after I'm done that, I'm going to skip to any school board member committee reports. Okay. I'm going to go straight to petitions, presentation of petitions, comments, concerns, or reports. Read my little disclaimer that I always do here. The School Board of Highlands County welcomes you to this meeting. It's time set aside for the citizens of Highlands County to address the school board. This is not a question and answer period. The board will only receive your comments. If deemed appropriate, the board may request the superintendent to obtain additional information to address your concerns. Public comments intended to allow members of the public a forum to express their concerns regarding the operation of the school district. It is not a forum for general political speech unrelated to school operations. Please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and then limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. And then again, please address the board when you're giving your speech. So we're going to start with Miss Brandy Barrington. Will be our first one up. So coming up to the podium. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? Yes, ma'am. I'm a teacher. My name is Brandy Barrington. I'm a teacher at Highlands Middle School. I've come tonight because I'd like to address the board and pretty much beg and plead that no more staffing changes be made to our administration at Highlands. We've become aware that there are parties in the county that hope that different staff members in our administration would be moved. And I'm begging for my school. We've had a very tough year. We faced a lot of challenges. We came together as a group. We faced them together. Our leadership helped us face those. They hung right in there with us. And we just need to get started with the work of restoring Highlands. It's had a rough couple of years. We need some continuity. The kids need consistency. They haven't had it in a year and a half at least that I know of. I came from Hardy County last year. And we walked into a perfect storm of problems. And there just has to be a point when we say, okay, that's enough. We have to let these students get back to work. There can't be any more vendettas or personal problems or personal prejudices that get in the way of us letting these teachers do their job, because that's all they want to do. And they're asking, with their whole hearts to be allowed to get started with this work, because it is the work that is most important at Highlands right now. If it's not the top item on our SIP plan, it should be to restore where Highlands was at one point in time. This school has a prestigious background, and without being able to get back to the work of restoring that history, the kids are going to suffer another year. And I just think that making any further changes in our administration is going to halt that for a whole nother year while the new administrator gets their feet under them, learns who can do what, finds their way through the mess that is already laying there waiting for them. We walked into this situation, did our best to bring it as far as we could. We were hindered in many ways, almost you know, handcuffed in many ways. And we're almost at a point where we could move forward if we were just allowed to without any further holdups. And I really just think that making any further changes would do that to us. We'd have to start all over again, learning how this is all going to work. We had a lot of staffing changes. I hear that brought up at every meeting. Well, you look at how many people have left that school. A lot of them left before we ever got there. We were trying to make up those spots when our new group came in. We inherited that problem. We're trying to fix it. But unfortunately, when you get stuck in the summer missing that many people, we had to take everybody that knocked on the door almost. And that's not best hiring practices. Of course, some of those people didn't work out. Of course, some of those people are not still here today. Please understand that we did our best to support them. Everybody did their best to support them. But when you're stretched that thin and you're covering classes 3 to 6 periods a day, and that's not your job, the other things are not going to get done as well as they could. And this is the first year that we might actually have a shot of getting started and getting the students back to where they need, and the students need it. They need some consistency. They need some familiarity on campus. They're not being served well. But we have a chance this year to start here and make this year better and make incredible changes. This staff is one of the finest I've ever worked with in my life. The people in this room, you can count on them to do what needs to be done to make that happen. We're just asking for the chance. But if you set us back at 0, it'll be another year before we can start. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next up is Linda Maltalbano.
Linda Montalbano. I'm a special education advocate. At the last school board meeting I attended, I witnessed the principal of Avon Park say that she's getting a lot of 9th graders who scored 1s and 2s. I've been before this board saying, you are graduating students who are at elementary levels in reading, writing, and math. I also listened to someone else who came up and talked about how many children are dropping out of school. I made a referral today on the back of my form that I am referring every single 9th grader in this county who scores a 1 or a 2 on the testing to go to high school needs to be evaluated by ESE. They need to be evaluated for reading, writing, and math levels, because to have gotten a 1 or 2, they are more than 2 years behind in academics. Now, I have been here 19 years, and in that 19 years, you've adamantly refused to bring in any reading program or math program that is scientific based to teach our students how to read, write, and do math. I've asked for Orton Gillingham. The cry mostly is, we don't have teachers trained. Well, 10 years ago, it no longer you had to have teachers trained. It's now on a computer chip. You could buy a chip that will do 500 children. And the chip was created so that mommy and daddy could teach their children how to read at home, since the school district refuses to teach the children how to read. And I'm not just saying Highlands County, it's across the state, it's across the country as a problem. I'm asking is to refer all these children because our middle schools have violated child fine. For these children to have made it to the 8th grade and only scored 1s and 2s on the test to go to high school, obviously the school staff in the middle school didn't catch that they were more than 2 years behind in reading, writing, and math. And then we go back to the elementary level, because if they were that behind to go to high school, they were also never taught in the elementary level. And I'm positive and sure that you failed most of them in the 3rd grade and provided them with little or no educational program to correct the reading, writing, and math problems. You just fail all these third graders, and then you don't give them scientific-based programs. You take a year to evaluate them. I just got off the phone with another parent just before walking in here who started in the first grade arguing that his son needed to be evaluated and just got an IEP in November of the third grade because it took that long to get the kid evaluated and get an IEP. And then they got the good news he failed the third grade and has to repeat the third grade. So just before I walked in, I discussed about filing a due process hearing to fight to get the kid up into fourth grade. Because the child shouldn't be forced to fail the third grade because you refused to test and evaluate him. You refused to give him a scientific-based reading program. So I'm not the one who came to the school board meeting last time and stood before you and said, I got all these ninth graders with ones and twos. Or the other lady who came in and told about how many dropped out. I'm here 19 years, and I can tell you, in my community in Loretta, I watch child after child after child drops out of school. They don't graduate, and the ones who do graduate are not at high school level and capable of going to college. Thank you.
Thank you. Gene Statler.
Hello, I'm Gene Statler, and I have two issues that I would like to bring to your attention. The first is this article by the governor, in which it says, DeSantis keeps promise, launches educational agenda for school board candidates and current school board members. There's a questionnaire asked for on here. The website is on the back of this letter, where each of you should go to it as board members and answer the survey. And I'm asking, Mr. Chairman, can I hand these out?
I believe so, certainly. I've already done it, but you can ask
Give
the
it
rest of them.
to the secretary. She can
pass it
get
out,
them
yeah.
to us.
We want to walk over. That'd be good.
The other issue that I want to bring up, I have brought up several times before. And you each say you want transparency, but not once do you respond to comments that are made under public comments. There's only one issue that I know of that you have dealt with that started under public comments. And that's the IMAD and that curriculum. I don't remember any other issue, and I've been coming for 6 months now, and I don't remember any issue that you have addressed that have been brought up here. I would encourage you, because when you deal with transparency, that's a two-way street. Just because we talk to you all doesn't mean that you turn on deaf ears and you never respond back to us. We are the people that elect you. We feel like that we should be told what's going on. And as an example, I would hope that each of you, if you look at your agenda under item 21, school board members' comments, there is no reason whatsoever that you can't comment when it's your turn to talk about any issue that is brought up under public comments. And I hope that you would start tonight with saying out loud individually when it's your turn to talk, yes, Governor, I will take your survey, and let it be known verbally that you are willing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Corrine Boyd.
Hi, my name is Corrine Boyd. I have been a teacher here in Highlands County since 1990. I have taught in Avon Middle School for 10 years and took a break to stay home with my daughter for 11 years. Tried elementary for 3 years at Sun and Lake, and then went back to middle school because I love middle school. And I've been at Hillgustat. This year will be my 9th year at Hillgustat. If you've been around long enough, you know that Avon Park Middle School in the early 90s was changing principals every year. And it brought a lot of insecurity to teachers, to students, and parents, community. Schools have changed significantly during my time in the classroom, and being a teacher is tough. COVID has made that even tougher. Last year at HGMS, we started with a new principal, a new assistant principal, a new dean, a new guidance counselor, a new guidance secretary, a new front desk secretary, new MTSS coach, and more than 20 new teachers. That's a lot of new. Many of these were in their new positions for the first time. Some were brand new to Highlands County. Some were brand new to the profession. We all know that first years are filled with growing pains. It was a tough year. Through it all, our principal has conducted herself with professionalism and positivity. She has sought to learn the procedures that we use here in our county and to understand the uniqueness of Highlands County. Yes, we all own camo. I have felt welcomed to come to her with problems. I have felt respected and heard. I have felt that she trusted me to do my job. And as a part of the CLT team last year, I was able to observe that she continuously showed a desire to improve herself and all that we were doing at Hillgustat for our students. Our CLT team has already been meeting with her in discussions for what we'd like to see to change for next year to improve for the coming year. I'm excited to continue to work with her to provide the best for our teachers, our students, and our parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jackie Gill. Do I have that right? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jackie Gill. Sorry about my voice. I just got it back. I've been teaching in Highlands County for 23 years. I'm just going to kind of piggyback off of what the other two teachers from Hillgustat have said, and I have been asked by our literacy coach, Cassandra Moses, to read what I believe that she has forwarded on to the board members. However, she would like it read publicly as well. So, here we go. I would like to communicate my support and confidence in my principal, Christina Remy. As a veteran teacher in this district, as well as at Hillgustat, I remain confident and committed to the work our leadership team has done this school year, and I am excited about the upcoming year. It's exciting to have Mr. John Million on our team this year. He brings added district experience and expertise. We are excited about all the things that he can bring to the table to complement Remy's leadership. Even prior to his arrival, as stated before, our leadership team has met more than once to begin tackling any and all obstacles to our success. We are laser focused. And as you know, I am not alone. Based on the overwhelming outreach from our staff, you might ask, well, why now? It is my understanding that there have been some very loud negative voices of recent. However, we have been putting our focus on student achievement and the success of our school, not the negativity. Our broad shoulders have bore the weight of scandal and controversy in the past, and we have remained vigilant. When we got wind that the voices were screaming lies and misinformation, we rose to act. Do not mistake our previous quiet response as indifference. We are united in speaking loud and clear. I appreciate your time and consideration, and at the end of the day, everyone that values education and the work that we do wants to do what's in the best interest of our students. Having a leader that has a genuine heart for all stakeholders exemplifies someone that the community, all races, genders, and backgrounds can look up to, and has the backing of her staff and the campus leadership is all wrapped up in Christina Remy. Professional and ethical misconduct are grounds for removal. Since there are none, any attempt to remove Remy as principal at HGMS should be viewed as an attack against the school and the very community for which I have faithfully worked for 20 years. I believe we as a community are better than that narrative. There's a whole lot to lose and nothing to gain, but more heartache and distrust. Respectfully, Cassandra Moses. And I concur. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kathy Hardesty.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Hardesty, and I'm a teacher at Hillgustat Middle School and a member of our teacher leadership team. An author once said, leaders think and talk about the solutions, followers think and talk about the problems. I will be the first one to admit that Hillgustat has been through a lot the last year and a half, and we have had our share of problems. We feel we have been a school completely turned upside down by decisions made by Dr. Longshore and the school board. A decision was made to move a principal yet again from Hillgustat. Promises were made that there would be support for us, the teachers, but we never felt there was. Decision was made by some to sit back and watch as the school struggled with an entirely new administrative team, a new principal, a new assistant principal, a new dean, a new guidance counselor, most not just new to Hillgustat, but new to their positions as well. And the decision was made to listen to the problems, but never reach out to the leadership team at Hillgustat until after the school year was over to see how you could support us and how we could work together to find solutions. Some of you chose to be followers. Yes, people have left Hillgustat. No one can deny that. We have had faculty and staff retire, move, get out of education completely, and those who left to look for greener pastures, but what school hasn't? And for all of those faculty and staff members that chose to leave, have any of you asked any of the new people who filled those spots, why did you come to Hillgustat? And has anyone bothered to ask those that are still there, why are you still there? As a teacher in this district for close to 30 years, with overall highly effective ratings and certified in multiple areas, being able to find a teaching position is not a concern I have. When I look at the number of job postings across our district and others, I feel confident I could have a teaching position should I have chosen to leave Hillgustat. So why haven't I left? I believe in Hillgustat. I believe in my principal. I believe we selected the best person to fill our assistant principal position, I believe we have the right deans in place, and I believe in our faculty and staff. I believe we are thinking and talking about solutions. I believe we have been the leaders that some of you have chosen not to be. At Hillgustat, we are thinking about solutions. And with our leader, we are thinking about ways to overcome the obstacles we've faced the last year and a half. And we are talking and having critical conversations about how to support each other and get headed in the right direction for the upcoming school year. As a leadership team, we are giving up hours of our summer to find solutions with our leader, and I believe we are finding them. We have a leader who is giving us the time, space, and guidance to do all that, all the signs of a good leader. I work with a leader at my school who acknowledges there have been problems. I work with a leader at my school who has owned up and taken personal responsibility for some of those problems. I work with a leader at my school who is actively looking and listening for solutions and problems. Will Hillgustat still face obstacles this coming year? Yes. Will mistakes still be made? Oh, I guarantee. Will we continue to learn from them and continue talking and thinking of ways to find solutions? Absolutely. We at Hillgustat have a leader, one that isn't perfect, but who among us is. We have a leader that I personally have confidence in. We at Hillgustat are being leaders, thinking and talking together with our leader, Christina Remy, about solutions, and I encourage you to lead with us as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle Leesburg, do I have that right? Okay, thank you.
I'm Danielle Leesburg. I'm relatively new to the community. We moved here just about a year ago. And as a parent, one of the main things that we talked about was school, because I have two kids. And not only were they going to go into middle school and high school in a new community, not knowing anybody, they also came off of e-learning. So my middle schooler went into 7th grade at Hillgustat, and we were worried a little bit about how he was going to cope, because we had kept them secluded for so long under COVID. And I got to tell you, as a former educator myself, I mean, that's the most important thing, is where we're going to place him. The teachers at Hillgustat took him in. Miss Remy, she's amazing. If it wasn't for her, I don't know that his transition from a new county, no friends, nobody, we don't know anybody, you know, when we first got here, I don't think it would have been as smooth. I don't think he would have been as successful. The people that have come up before me, I would have never known that you had so many news in Hillgustat, because Miss Remy always conducted herself in a positive attitude towards Timothy, made it a safe zone for him. And as a new student coming in, not knowing anybody, that's very important on my side as a parent, because those are, you know, those are my kids, and I want to make sure that they have the best experience possible. And I couldn't have asked for a better school, a better teaching staff, or a better principal that we put him in. I couldn't have asked for anything more, and we are so proud of his accomplishments, and that has a lot to do with the administration and the teaching staff at Hillgustat. And to think that it might change when he come in, this is his first, you know, experience in middle school. He's got one more year left, and I don't want that to change. He's got a system in place because of her and because of those teachers, and it's good. And I'm sure all schools struggle with things, but I know that they can overcome it. I know they work together, and I love her, and I think that she is probably the most influential in Timothy's life right now, which is very important. 12, 13 years old, very impressionable, and I tell you what, he comes to attention when she's around, and doesn't do that for us, but you know, definitely wanted you to know that from a parent's perspective, and a new parent to this community, a new parent to Hillgustat, that we couldn't be more pleased with Miss Remy and what she's done for our son. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesse Sapp.
Good evening. I'm Jesse Sapp. Got to eat some words from a couple weeks ago. Mr. McClure caught me before I left last meeting, and we had a little chat outside. He also called me the week after, and I'm going to give him the attaboy. I appreciate the call, and I appreciate you being receptive and hearing us and hearing what we have to say and getting back with us. It's nice to see. we've had a lot of issues here lately. There's a lot of people here from Hillgustat tonight that I didn't expect to be on that side, but what I'm wondering is where are the people who are on the other side? And I think the story there is those people they're not going to be here tonight. They're not going to come up here and say, hey, we left, we went and found another job, or we're looking for another job, and tell you why they left. Because they're scared whenever they go to their new job, their new employer is going to call back here and ask questions, and they're scared of what's going to come out of the administration's mouth. Of course, they're not going to say anything. I respect everybody that came here in support, but the numbers don't lie. And it's not just at Hillgustat; it's everywhere. I heard last 2 weeks ago Tuesday the words micromanage. We don't want to micromanage, and I've been thinking about that these last 2 weeks. Micromanage is something that sometimes is necessary when things get bad. We have to micromanage. When management is not working, the administrators have to micromanage. They need to micromanage. And I think that's where we're missing out on a lot of these schools, probably most of the schools. Scores are not good. Our letter ratings are not good. We've had IMAD issues. I'm not going to go across that again, but still don't have a curriculum meeting. Nobody's been called about a curriculum meeting again. You guys made it very clear that you wanted one. Nobody's been called about that again. We've had some hiring issues, as I've spoke on a couple of times. We've had another, I'm going to call it an incident. We have a teacher right now who resigned due to some racially motivated texts that she sent as a principal of another school, and now she's back teaching. She's back as a teacher on the superintendent's list. I've got serious problems with that. Admin leaving at a record pace. I looked at a newspaper article that showed how many admin had moved and left this year. Crazy. That's a lot of people. And just like these folks are saying, it's hard for kids to come back from that, from having all new administration, and Hillgustat's seen their fair share of it, but we have to figure out where the mismanagement is going on. It's not we might need micromanagement, but there's mismanagement somewhere to have all these problems come at one time. We've got a great politician as a superintendent. She's a great politician, and I can't take that away from her, but I think we need to, from an accountability standpoint, we need to have a workshop on the differences between an elected superintendent and an appointed superintendent. Most of the counties in Florida, the way I understand it, now have appointed superintendents. Our boards, their boards have a lot more control. They have a lot more accountability out of their appointed and not politically motivated superintendents. And I think that's something that we really need to look at. I think it's something that is very important for our community to at least talk about the pros and cons. I know there's cons. I've played this out in my head a million times, and there's a lot of cons. I think the pros might outweigh them. I think we need to really look at it, and something that we need to talk about as a community, not just a few people get together and make the decision. I think we need to talk about it. Something that may get us pointed back in the right direction, because we are not going in the right direction right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Overfield. Have to wait your 5-minute reset here. We'll get it.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Longshore, Mr. McClure, Marlene, members of the audience. I'm Larry Overfield, CPT. I want to talk about pride tonight. Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary defines pride as a noun. Number 1, a feeling of self-respect and personal worth. Number 2, unreasonable and inordinate self-esteem. Guess what? It's number 1 on the 7 deadly sins. St. Augustine said it was pride that changed angels into devils. There is a righteous pride. In 2 Chronicles 17, we read about Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. He took great pride in the ways of the Lord. Proverbs 29:23 speaks about sinful pride. A man's pride will bring him low. I've been there. 1 John 2:16 and 17 says, reminds us that for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the boastful pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. June It's LGBTQIA+. I hope they don't add no more to that. Pride Month. As a government, we sanction that. While our governor is protecting our children from sexual deviancy, our Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, is appearing on LGBTQ shows in support of their freedom expressing themselves in drag. Fox News did a story on a transgender child and the support of his parents. A drag show at a Dallas area gay bar in Texas had children participating in these drag events. A gay student club at a high school in Caney, Iowa, hosted a drag show at the school that administrators say was not sanctioned. How'd they get on campus? Michigan's first openly gay Attorney General, Dana Nessel, said there should be a drag queen for every school. Christina Lust, 56, a male transgender prisoner in Minnesota, is suing to be transferred to a female jail. People, we can't make this stuff up. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9 and 10 says, "Or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor homosexuals, nor thieves, nor the covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God." In Matthew 18, 1 through 6, our Lord Jesus was talking about the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. He called a child to him and stood in between people and said, "Unless you are converted and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. But whoever causes one of these little ones," he says later, "whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him to have a heavy millstone hung around his neck and be drowned in the depth of the sea." Fisher Ames, he's considered the author of the First Amendment. He stated, "We are spending less time in the classroom on the Bible, which should be the principal text in our schools. The Bible states great moral lessons better than any other man-made book." I wonder what he would think about the Supreme Court's interpretation of the First Amendment now. I believe the Bible would be a great text resource for history and archaeology in our schools, starting from kindergarten on up. I think it would be a great resource. But you've all heard me say that before. So, once again, I thank you for listening to me again.
Thank you.
Don't tell them that, Marie.
Circle back around. I hate to waste that. Superintendent's report.
Okay, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for being here tonight. I certainly want to thank the Hill-Gustat staff and parents of students from Hill-Gustat and letting your voices be heard, your resilience and dedication and determination to be successful in spite of many, many challenges that you have faced over this past year just shows the true heart of a teacher. And it's wonderful to be able to hear your voices and to hear your heart as you spoke so passionately tonight. So I just really thank you for coming out and for sharing your excitement about next year. I see Mr. Million in the back. I guess, Mr. Million, I could have you come up and meet the board. Why don't you come right on up, because it looks like you've got a good group here to see that. So come on up and at least meet the board. We're very sorry to lose you from the district office. He is a data whiz, and you guys are very fortunate to have him join your staff as the AP. Nothing like putting you on the spot, right? Hiding back there, would you?
10-minute speech.
Just a couple words, would you like to say? We're going to see how good he is, faculty. We'll see, right?
Every administrator can speak on the fly like that, right?
I am John Million. I am very, very excited to be at Hill-Gustat. You heard many positive things from the staff that is there. I've only been there a couple of days so far. There are lots of positive things going on. I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to the improvements, the things that we can put in place to serve our children of Hill-Gustat and of the district as a whole. So I'm very excited to be there, and I thank you for that opportunity.
Yes, yes. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
after hearing from your teachers tonight that just excites you even more.
Very much so, yes, it
That's
does.
great, that's great. Well, we're looking forward to great things. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
The board had asked if we would put together some information about our ESSER funds. You know, those are the federal dollars that we have received, and we've received a lot of them. In our workshop this afternoon, we did do a review of the ESSER funds and went very deep in the weeds of how we spent every one of those dollars. I have that information, but the board had asked if I would do just a short overview, 20,000-foot overview of our funds, what we have received, how we're spending them, how many funds we still have left to spend by 24. So I want to do a quick review of this. So ESSER 1, we had a little over $4 million. Those funds that we do receive have specificity on how we use those funds. So for our ESSER fund dollars, it was really all about assessing what those learning gaps were due to COVID and accelerating that learning gains to close that achievement gap. There was also some areas within this money for safety and health concerns, so we were able to use some of those dollars in that way. We also had an instructional continuity plan that we had to submit to DOE, and it was very clear on how we were going to get kids back in school and how we were going to move forward, so it supported that. And then our provision of equitable services for private schools. All of those dollars in ESSER 1 have been already spent. In order to use the ESSER 2 dollars, you had to spend out your ESSER 1 dollars. So all those dollars have been spent. In ESSER 2, we got a little over $22 million, and those were broken up into 4 areas. Academic acceleration, that just continued on. That was about $4.5 million. Non-enrollment assistance was about $900,000. Technology assistance, the one-to-one technology and many other things were in that pot of money, a little over $1 million. And then we had $16 million that was a lump sum. That was a big pot of money that we did a lot of things in closing the achievement gap with those funds. And our largest pot of money that we received is $51 million in ESSER 3. So we still have some funds in ESSER 2 that we are continuing to spend, and we have used some of the monies in ESSER 3. So the real premise of this ESSER 3 dollars was to address the learning loss. 20% of that total allocation, it was a requirement that we would use in that fashion. And these are the areas that was dictated within the grant to build teacher and leader capacity to address the learning loss. We've seen learning loss like never before. And really, I'm sure you can attest to that as students came back. We were dealing with things that we have not seen before when they have gone home for, even from spring break, and then what a difference it was when they returned to us. There was also areas in here to activate authorization under IDEA. So some of the areas that we could use IDEA money, we could use under this grant. Some of the authorization for our Perkins dollars we could use under this grant. Some of the things for unique students' needs, so even ESC equipment, those kinds of things could be used under this grant. And then sanitizing and cleaning to minimize our spread of COVID. Other areas that were covered under this grant were school facility repairs and improvements. Educational technology, you know, that's ever-changing, and Mr. Layfield keeps us abreast of that. Mental health services and supports that Melissa has used, Blackman has used, and student support services. We've enhanced our summer learning. Our summer schools have been more robust. Assessments, activities, assistance, and activities to maintain operations and continuity of services. So as we think about continuing to recruit and retain our staff that we had, that was the $7 million incentives that we received this past year was in this grant. In addition to that, we were able to spend a little over $1 million on our COVID health insurance. So that was very helpful as well. So just a quick overview of the dollars that we've received and the dollars that we still have left. ESSER 1 was a little over $4 million. That's totally spent. ESSER 2 was $22 million. We've expended $15 million with about $7 million left there. ESSER 3 was $51 million. We've expended $10 million with a balance of $40 million. The ESSER IDA money was $703,000, and we have almost $700,000 left in that pot of money. The ESSER IDEA pre-K dollars was $46,000. We still have that funding left. And the ESSER CTE funds was $252,000, and we still have that remaining balance. So you can clearly see the federal dollars that we have received, we still have a big pocket of federal funds to be able to use. This is the timeline in which we need to use them. So the ESSER 1 dollars needed to be used by September of 2022. The ESSER 2 dollars will need to be spent out by September of 23, and that's about $7 million. And the ESSER 3 dollars will need to be spent out by September of 24. And so as I shared with the board earlier, I'm quite confident that we will never see these types of dollars again. It's amazing to have these types of funds, and we want to use these funds very wisely. The intention for these funds was to close the student achievement gap. So we want to be very cautious and careful and very intuitive on how we spend those dollars moving forward, thinking back that right now we've got $40 million in ESSER 3. So we've got a lot of dollars to spend by September of 24. And really the purpose and premise of that is to close the achievement gap from our kids that have suffered and struggled so much from COVID. Yes, yes. The incentives were on this particular page under ESSER 3, $7,298,000 was the recruitment incentive for this year, for this past year that we've spent. So again, these are federal dollars. These dollars don't come locally or even from our state, but federal dollars that we receive, and that gives you a little bit of an overview for the public. We will be putting out some things in our newspaper, on our website. If you want to have more detail on exactly how those dollars were spent, I've got all of that information. We'll be happy to share that with you, but that gives you a quick down and dirty of where we are. In addition to that, I would like to request to revise 6A, Code of Conduct, deleting references to corporal punishment on pages 12 and 30. Request permission to revise page 4 of our agenda item 10A, Superintendent's Recommendation for Personnel. I'd also like to have an executive session tonight and to request one following the July 12th board meeting. And that completes my announcements. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as revised?
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion from Ms. Howerton, a second from Mrs. Shoup. Any public discussion? Back to the board for discussion. Ms. Howerton?
Yes.
Ms. Shoup?
Yes.
Mr. Brantley?
Yes.
Ms. Compa-Twist?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We're to 9, motion to approve consent agenda items as revised.
Move approval. Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Howerton, a second from Ms. Compton-Twist. Any public discussion? 9 is where I'm at. 3 is part of 2.
Number 9 is all of the consent.
Okay, go ahead. Gotcha, okay.
Jesse Sapp again. The contract issue that I brought up 2 weeks ago is back on this agenda again. The word "not" is not. Can't remember exactly which one it is. I think it's the one with cross-country education. It's a 6.11A, are presently debarred, and it should say are not presently debarred. I think we need to delete that one and start over, start fresh or something. Maybe
What letter is that, Mr. Sapp?
6.11A. I'm sorry. 6.11A, I think it's on cross-country education. I may be wrong about that. It may be Avid. It's one of those two.
Avid's first time's been on, so it wasn't on last time. That was John Verdi put that on for this time.
No, I don't think this one's been on. Was on there last 2 weeks
So that
ago.
must
This is
not
a
have
new
been
one.
Avid.
It is a new one.
This is a
and
new one.
We thought we'd grabbed everything. We missed that. I appreciate your diligence. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Well, he said it's cross-country, right?
Oh, I see. One of those was deleted and I see 5C is the Highlands County and Avid Center. Oh, you're talking about 5D.
5D.
Yes,
Avid.
ma'am. 5D.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So we can fix that.
We'll make
Follow
sure
up.
that's fixed. Thank you, Mr. Sapp.
Thank you. Okay. So I need to do anything with the motions, or are we good with everything as we
Well,
stand?
I would say the motion should need to include the word "not" in the addendum.
So moved.
So we're good.
That's
So
second, or no, you
Compton
seconded.
Twist was
Yeah.
second, yeah, so, okay. So, any more board discussion?
I actually have some on 8C, as far as the school board surplus, as far as tangible property in the surplus. On there, we have 4 buses. I've been in conversation with Sebring Fire Department at one time, also contacted by the Highlands County SWAT team, and then Highlands County EMS and Fire would be interested in using 2 of our buses for training.
Oh, that'd be
For,
great.
for different things as far as, Highlands County's getting back with me as far as the EMS and fire. But after we had the accident about 3-4 years ago in Lake Placid where a semi rear-ended a bus and rolled over, they just weren't really prepared for that. So if we could, I did talk to Mr. Hills. As far as the buses normally bring $10,000 at the auction because things are crazy prices, as we all know. But the most valuable part of that bus is the transmission and engine. We can pull the transmission and engine and still get $1,500 less. It will cost $500 worth of labor for transportation department to pull those engines. So it'll cost us about $2,000 to donate the buses to the first responders of Highlands County. I'd like to see at least 2 because EMS and SWAT's not going to damage them. Fire, they roll them over, they cut them, and they're going to do all kinds of stuff to them. So if Sebring could use one, and if Highlands County wants one, at least let's give them the opportunity to do that.
Oh, I think that'd be invaluable.
Great.
I mean,
Wonderful.
yeah, you can't put a price on something like that.
I even just let them have the transmission and everything.
Well, if we can get a little bit out of the I mean.
Well, it's $8,500.
Either way,
$8,500 for the transmission and
Yeah.
engine.
Yeah.
For
So
these
that's the
markets,
big value what
Yeah.
they're going for because of the diesel
And they'd
engines
be
in
able
them.
to do that within the surplus, sell it that way?
Right, they already, they contacted Inside Auction. So he said 10,000
okay.
for the bus complete,
Okay.
8,500 for the
Okay.
engine and transmission,
Gotcha.
and then $500 for our department to take it out and then get it out there. So
Okay.
really it'll cost us like $2,000 a bus for them to be able to use it for training
For training,
if
which,
they want to.
let's hope it never comes in handy, but if it does, that'd certainly be huge.
Do we need to do anything special to make that happen as a
Yes.
board?
I'm not sure as far as, but John, do we need to make that into a motion or just smile and
Well,
nod? Or
first of all, this is, on the consent agenda, it says request approval to declare these as surplus. So my recommendation is,
We
at
do
this
that.
point, why don't we just pull that item to the action agenda, okay?
Okay.
And then make the modifications, vote on it as modified.
Okay. We need a motion on that?
Yes, you would.
I'll make a motion to what he said.
Okay, so,
I'll second it.
Okay.
so we're sitting now at Ms. Shoup with a first, Ms. Howerton for a second. Are we just deleting what I've already done with the first motion and second? And going with the new
do
motion in
that.
second?
Now you
Or
gotta
how are
do
we
that.
doing?
We'd have to
You
make
want
it
to
a,
withdraw your motion?
The real way to do it
Yes,
We can
please
vote
help
on
us.
this one and then go back
is,
to the
is,
other one?
treat that as a motion to amend the original motion. You vote on the amendment, since I'm now the Robert's Rules of Order guy.
Yes, please.
You vote on the amendment first, and then vote on the motion as amended. So the first vote to come up is to vote on the proposed amendment to the motion, which is to pull item 8C and move that to the action agenda. So you can discuss changes at that point. So you should vote on that amendment now, and then, if that is amended, then vote on the consent agenda as amended.
So I'll make the motion to amend.
I'll
Wait.
second.
Okay. We already had
Well, we had the
Yeah,
original
I think-
motion,
I
not
think
the
I
motion
did.
to amend.
Yeah.
We have an
For the
official,
original,
we have an official motion to amend, that's what we need. And a second. We're confusing.
Okay, so the original motion is, can we vote on the original motion?
No,
No.
can't
No.
vote on the motion.
motion to amend
On-
first.
Only the amendment. Amendment
Who's
first.
on first, second, third?
The motion was Ms. Howerton and Ms. Comp and Twist. And Ms. Howerton. Okay, so let's go. So let's go, Ms. Shoup.
We can go with that.
Do we need public comment?
Public comment on
Madam
that?
Secretary.
Sorry, I'm confusing everybody. I'm trying not to. Ms. Shoup,
Yes.
Ms. Howerton,
Yes.
Ms. Brantley,
Yes.
Ms. Comp and Twist.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. And then we'll go to the original motion that has been
As
amended,
As amended,
as amended.
but we still need a motion as amended because the first motion, remember, was to adopt it without any amendment at all. So now we need a motion to adopt the consent agenda as now amended. Since we have amended it and we voted positively on that.
Okay,
Don't mean to be confusing, talk to Mr. Roberts about that.
I understand. So we need a motion for that.
Yes,
Okay?
Should
as
that
amended.
come from the original?
Or we amend the motion that we originally did. Can I do that?
Well, you didn't make that motion.
It
Whoever
should come
made
from
that
the
motion.
Ms.
original,
Howerton made
yeah.
that motion.
Okay.
And
Ms.
Ms. Comp and
Howerton,
Twist
is that your
seconded that.
motion?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Who seconded that?
Ms.
did.
Comp and Twist.
Is that your second, Ms. Twist?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So we're good. So any more public comment on that? Back to the board for discussion. Go Ms. Howerton,
Yes.
Ms. Comp and Twist,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
and Ms., where are we at? Ms. Shoup.
Yes.
And then chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank
Okay,
you
we're
very
through
Hey,
that.
just trying to get through it.
Just trying to make it as complicated as possible.
I know, nope, not me.
I'm still
Okay.
a little confused though, because we have an original motion lying on the table that we did not withdraw. But
We
we're gonna
amended.
move on.
Would anyone like to
amended.
withdraw that original?
We're gonna move on.
Okay. Well, we just did it out of order
okay.
because we started talking about it afterwards. So that's fine. The resolution was the right thing to do. So we good? We're good. 10A, consider, no, that's 10A. Action item. We have an action item added in.
Yes.
So I'll
Now we
make-
have 8C.
So I make the motion, two of the buses that are surplus to go to Highlands County Emergency Services for training,
I'll second that.
less the engine and transmission.
Yeah.
Okay. So motion from Mr. Brantley, a second from Ms. Shoup, and you have public discussion on that specific part of it. Back to the board for discussion. Mr. Brantley,
Yes.
Ms. Shoup,
Yes.
Ms. Howerton,
Yes.
Ms. Comp and Twist.
Yes.
Chair votes yes on that one. Okay. So now we are to 10A.
Well, hold
We're
just a
not
moment.
there yet.
Mr. Brantley said about the two buses, okay? So, what about the other two buses? Are we declaring those as surplus? Because I don't think the motion addressed that exactly.
I'll also make the motion to declare the other two surplus to be sold at auction.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Yeah, a lot more than just the buses.
We are getting deep in Robert's rules
The
right
remaining
now,
of-
I'll tell you that. I didn't
Two of the other buses.
go back to high school on this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a motion from Mr. Brantley, a second from Ms. Howerton. Any more public discussion on that specific part? Come on up.
Larry Overfield, CPT. Who's on first?
Thank you. Appreciate that public comment. It's excellent. Wait, we haven't voted on it yet.
No.
Mr. Brantley,
Yes.
Ms. Howerton,
Yes.
Ms. Comp and Twist,
Yes.
Ms. Shoup.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Now 10A. Consider approval of the superintendent's recommendation for personnel. And I'm supposed to get a motion, I think, on. Do we have a motion to consider approval of the superintendent's recommendation except for Woodlawn Elementary and Sebring Pre-K Center reappointment rosters, revising page 4? Is that
I
where
will
I am?
make that motion.
I'll make the second.
Motion from Ms. Comp and Twist. Second from Mr. Brantley. Public discussion on that specific part of it. Okay, back to the board for discussion. Where we
I
have
made
public
the
discussion.
motion to consider the approval of the superintendent's recommendation except for Woodlawn Elementary and Sebring Pre-K Center reappointment rosters and revising page 4.
When we vote on the first motion first, you got two motions there going on.
We'll have two motions, and we'll have to do them separately, so yep.
So that one's except that, right? So it's all
Yep.
the others.
All the others.
Nicole Radomski, and I just am here very briefly. I just want to start out by saying I know many people that spoke tonight, and I have the utmost of respect for them. I was here 2 weeks ago, speaking very highly, and I still feel exactly the same way about many of the master teachers that I said they were. They still are. They'll be that way 2 weeks from now. They'll be that way 2 years from now. I am here simply in representation and concern of the other side, and it was great, that Jesse kind of spoke up there too. So my concern is just where are the people that have left, and have people been reaching out and asking why? I have been talking to many of them, and many of them have said no, people have not reached out. That's not everyone, so I will say that, but plenty of them have said, no one has reached out, including administration, asking why they chose to leave. Yes, I know some retired, some chose to get out of the profession, things like that, but not all of them. So, in order for us to be solution-driven, and listen, I love Hillgustat. I want to see it succeed just like anybody else. That was my home school too. And, I want to see that school succeed. But in order for us to do that, we have to step back and we have to look at where are the problems? Where are the gaps? Where did we fall short? Because there were shortcomings. That many people do not leave a school for no reason at all. So we've got to be honest. We've got to find out what happened. And I know you guys will reach out, talk to people, find out. They're not all disgruntled employees. I can promise you that. There are some facts and there are some real concerns. And so I'm just asking, as a board to reach out to for what's best for our kids so that we don't, continue to make some of these same mistakes. And then I do just want to bring forward my concern that the current administration is on our health curriculum committee, and it says in our local statutes, I'm going to read right from it, that the comprehensive health education shall not interfere with the local determination of appropriate curriculum which reflects local values and concerns. So if you have someone on our health committee that is not a local resident, then how is that person proper representation of our local values and concerns? So I did just want to bring that forward as well. So thank you all for your time on that.
Thank you.
Brandy Barrington again, and I'm just going to try to answer some of those questions about the number of people that have left Hillgustat since I started there, because that's the only thing I know about. I don't want to bring hearsay into it or what people told me happened, but the people that I've talked to and the people that I've become close with and the people that I taught with and worked with this year that ended up having to leave, I can answer some of those questions for you. As I said earlier, at the end, our backs were against the wall. We hired who we could to put an adult in every classroom with every kid to make sure that as many of our essential tasks on campus were being completed every day as possible. So in that process, we ended up with people on campus that this wasn't their dream job. This isn't where they wanted to be. This isn't even the county they wanted to be in or the pay that they thought that they wanted to make. They were looking for other jobs when they accepted ours, and they continued to look until they found one. That was common this year. I saw it a lot, especially with what else was going on campus. It was an uncomfortable place to be this year. I don't know why nobody talks about it or says it, but I'm going to, and if Ben in the black van kidnap me later and I disappear, then that'll be what has to happen. But it was a large faction of loyalty on our campus to Mr. Doty. Even when I got there, after the mass exodus that happened when he first left, I understand that these people love and are loyal to him, and that is their choice. And I respect it. That's their choice to make. a lot of the people that stayed on campus still felt that way. And they waited this year, I think, to see if they wanted to leave and move. And I respect these people, and I really love some of them. But I do have to say that not at all times were they interested in the success of our school. Because if our school failed, then it proved that Mr. Doty was the only person that could have ran it effectively. And I felt like that from probably week 3 of working that way, working at Hillgastat. So that was a huge concern on our campus all year long. And the people that stayed, that love him, you know, it just was an uncomfortable place to be. And it did put us at odds when what we all should have been focused on was the success of our students. And it really hurt them sometimes, because when you're working for the success of your students, but you have people on campus that are interested in you failing, you know, maybe this team not working out or that extracurricular activity not working out, because then that's another thing that didn't happen well this year. It does cause disruption on your campus, and it keeps you from being able to accomplish your goals. And then I think they, you know, what I will say is that at this point, I think that most of that has resolved itself. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. If you give us a chance now, I really think we can take the ball and run with it, because a lot of those hindrances have been removed from the school. And I don't mean to say that those people are hindrances, because they are excellent at what they do. I have a big place in my heart for some of them. We disagree on this one issue, but this is where I'm choosing to work next year, and I'm invested in these kids. I was hired as the MTSS coach this year, but I also worked 12 weeks in a language arts classroom because we needed a teacher. I also was the gifted teacher. I also was the school council sponsor all year long. I pitched in wherever I needed to make sure that those tasks on campus were getting done, because the school means that much to me, and I fell in love in that English classroom. These are great kids. And I just want to say that if we're given the chance, the people that are staying, the talent that we have, the gifts that these educators have to pour into kids could make all the difference. Was that a time?
No, we're just...
Okay. So as far as people leaving, I do think reason number 1 was we hired people who were never planning on staying. And reason number 2 was there were people that didn't want to stay in the first place. They had their loyalties elsewhere, and I respect that. And I hope that they are super happy in their next journey. But they weren't on team student at HGMS. And they're not here to speak for themselves. I hope they'll come, and I hope they'll tell their stories. But that's from my experience on the school campus, and so that the public knows, that's what we dealt with this year.
Thank you. Okay. Any more public discussion? I just want, if whoever wants to come up, just one time to come up. If you wanted to come up, you can certainly come up. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Sorry. That as a parent, and it's nice to know why some of them left, but I don't care. I only care about who stayed, and I only care about who's there for the kids and my kid. And you know, I'm also SAC chair and PTO at Hillgastat. We have meetings. You're welcome. And we have meetings every month. I don't see anybody coming in and voicing concerns that I'm hearing here. So where were they all year long? We meet every single month, you know, and so that makes me wonder what the full agenda is about on their side of things. But you know, I mean, I just I don't. They're gone, and you know, and a lot of people left, and it was, you know, they're trying to get their jobs back too, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So I just want to put that out there, that I'm only concerned about who's there and who's stayed for the kids. And I love the people that stayed, so I want them to stay more longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, or public discussion? And so back to the board for discussion.
Okay, I was gonna do this in my closing comments, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and do it now, and I apologize, I kinda wrote some notes, but I just
it spoke to a lot of you that are here tonight, you know, in answering you in your emails or phone calls. And I just, for the record, want to thank the faculty that reached out to me through all of this before the year was up and through now at Hill Gustat Middle School. I just want to say so many do not realize the board's role on personnel. I shared with the ones that reached out to me their frustration with the board and superintendent for leaving them with the situation they had faced this year. In the superintendent called me when Chris Doty was being moved to Avon Park Middle School, I shared my concern that what had happened when he moved to Lake Placid Middle School. I even called Mr. Doty with concerns. Brenda assured me she was going to make it work. She then brought to the board to vote for an incoming out-of-county principal, and I shared my concern there. We then lost Stacy Henson, while under Mrs. Remy, she resigned. As a result, she then hired Mrs. Parks from Hardy County. The out-of-county concerns stem from the responsibilities of our admin being on site and present for many after-school activities. Both being in the first year of these administrative positions and leaving out-of-county was a major concern. Then I started hearing from faculty that administrators were not getting along. I contacted Brenda again and asked was she aware. She said she was looking into it. Someone asked me through the phone calls, did either Hill Gustat Middle School administrators have a mentor? And I thought this was a very good question. I did look into it. My understanding, Dr. Linda Lay came out for one visit with Mrs. Parks and asked about responsibilities. Dr. Lay did give examples of things she could recommend. Dr. Lay was removed as a mentor, and Mrs. Parks was not provided a new mentor. Mrs. Remy was provided with a continuous mentor, which was Nia Campbell. The staff seems to be excited and open to Mr. Menu. He will be the third assistant principal under Mrs. Remy. I'm excited for him also. In addition to the loss of 2 assistant principals, deans, guidance counselor, and bookkeeper, I'm just going to say, as being on this board, I've never seen a full office gone from a school. So even though Brenda is over personnel, I'm asking that if, you know, this does pass, I'm looking that we look into how we handle these situations. So I need to know what Dr. Longshore plans to keep us aware of how the school is going to come along next year. I also just need to say that I'm upset about the inconsistencies on our faculty across the district. I am upset that Mrs. Parks felt she needed to resign. Once she realized she was not continue as assistant principal at Hill Gustat, she was hopeful she may receive other administrative. Since then, she's applied for 2. So far, nothing. And to be honest, members, I'm not sure how it looks. She had nothing in her file, and I gave you a copy of the recommendation that Mrs. Remy wrote for her. I ask if you get a chance to look at her evaluations. Teachers are telling me evaluations don't go with you to interview, but I had one teacher say that you get one needs improvement, and she worked with that administrator till she could get it removed. These notes do mean something. I'm just saying we do one for one and not the other. I want to thank the faculty who are stepping up this summer and getting with Mrs. Remy and trying to make this work. They just don't feel they can start the year with new administrators again. And I hope Mrs. Remy realizes this is an amazing faculty spending their summer to turn this around with her and for the school.
Any more board discussion? Okay. Call it the vote. Ms. Compton-Twist?
Yes.
Mr. Brantley?
Yes.
Ms. Shoup?
Yes.
And then
I'm going to abstain. My daughter, Christy Gose, is on the Sebring Middle School roster. Conflict of interest. My Form 8B has been filed.
And chair votes yes. Go to the second motion. Does somebody need to make that, or I call it out myself? Probably. I consider approval of the reapportment rosters for Woodlawn Elementary School and Sebring Pre-K Center.
Motion to approve?
Second. I just was thinking.
Who's the second? Which one's the second?
Yeah. I don't.
This is
think
for
that-
Woodlawn
I
and
think
Sebring Pre-K.
she's over the can.
She
Yeah.
can, yeah. So a motion for Mr. Brantley, a second Ms. Howerton. Public discussion for that part of it. Back to the board for discussion. Mr. Brantley,
Yes.
Ms. Howerton,
Yes.
and then Ms. Compton-Twist.
I'm going to abstain. I'm on the Sebring Pre-K Center roster. I have my conflict of interest Form 8B has been filed.
And then Ms. Shoup.
I'm with her, I'm abstaining. My daughter-in-law, Stacy Shoup, is at the Woodlawn Elementary School, and so conflict of interest form, 8B has been filed.
Okay. Chair votes yes. 10B, consider approval to expunge the expulsion of the students who successfully completed the academy program for 21-22 and 21-21 and 21-22.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, a motion from Ms. Howerton, a second from Mrs. Shoup, and no public discussion on expulsions. No.
No.
No, not on that. No, I'm sorry. Okay, and then board discussion. Okay, Ms. Howerton,
Yes.
Ms. Shoup,
Yes.
Ms. Brantley,
Yes.
Ms. Compton-Twist,
Yes.
chair votes yes. 13, action policies. I guess I'll just ask for Mr. McClure to on that part.
Okay, sir.
When you get there.
So we don't yet have any motions. I'll just go give you a general overview of the motions before the board, or the policies for development. First, we have policies A through O. Yes, indeed. I want to go A through M. Thank you. A through M are up for development. If you approve these, it would be then to consider approval at the subsequent meeting after re-advertising. Every one of these is all the same thing. Mr. Lethbridge was designated. He really is in the chain of command, so to speak, to review these things. Should not be on this in any of these positions. Mr. Lethbridge, Mr. Leesburg has been hired to address these matters and will be substituted in his name instead of Mr. Lethbridge. So that's what each of these deal with, okay? Then the other two, N and O for development, deal with just additional physical requirements. One, they both require lifting 100 pounds, and the mechanic 4 is 2 years experience versus 4 years experience being changed out. So with that, I would recommend that policies are, what would this be? 13A through O be under the same motion for approval. I would confirm first that each of these has been advertised. Madam Secretary, is that right? Thank you. I was not going to get a response unless we asked Madam Secretary, I can tell.
That's how it works.
So then I'll bring it back to you for a motion, second, and public discussion.
Do we have a motion for approval to advertise the revision of policies, job description items 13A through 13O?
Yes.
Make a motion.
Second.
So motion from Ms. Shoup, a second from Ms. Howerton. Public discussion on those. Back to the board for discussion. Ms. Shoup,
Yes.
Ms. Howerton,
Yes.
Ms. Brantley,
Yes.
Ms. Compton-Twist,
Yes.
chair votes yes.
Okay. The next items are 13P through 13S. Each one of these is a little bit different. The first deals with these are for final adoption. They've already been through the development process. 1430.03 sick leave basically says, look, it's the rate of pay at time of separation, not the rate of pay that you, at the time you earned the sick leave back when. So that's up for approval. The next one is 1430.06 vacation leave, excuse me, which only applies for separation from a 12-month position, nothing else. R is 6510, payroll authorization, which clarifies instead of biweekly, it's the pay for those participating in the bargaining matters is semi-monthly. And then finally, 6610, dealing with school internal funds, essentially use those at the school where the funds were raised. So those four are up for approval. I will confirm, Madam Secretary, that they have in fact been advertised. Okay. To you, sir, for a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Do we have a motion for approval for adoption of policies items 13P through 13S?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion from Ms. Howerton, a second from Mrs. Shoup. Public discussion. Back to the board for discussion. Ms. Howerton,
Yes.
Ms. Shoup,
Yes.
Ms. Compton-Twist,
Yes.
Mr. Brantley,
Yes.
chair votes yes. 15A, consider approval of revised project list to include projects recommended by the athletic task force.
motion to approve.
Second.
A motion from motion from Ms. Shoup, a second from Ms. Howerton. Public discussion?
I'm not sure if anyone is here.
Yeah, I'd like to hear somebody, but I don't see anybody
Well-
here that can help. I don't know.
Would you like to, well, I'll wait till board, because I had a discussion with the board, with the task force chair about how they came to this, so
Okay.
I'll wait until.
Back to the board for discussion.
Okay. What they did, they met, I want to say they met at Sebring High School, all three high schools, the principals, and the athletic directors. And this was the list they came up with. I think they had, was their budget $350,000 for, I believe, was in, what was it?
314.
314. Well, I think the original budget, we gave them 350,000.
I think you were correct.
Yeah, and so this was what they came out with. He said it all went very well, very smooth. They were all in agreement, and they were in and out. And the chair is my son, so we were having this discussion. So that's how I know how they all came to this decision.
Yes, essentially, this is the allocation they get annually from the asset sales tax. So they sat down together, they came up with the project list. So it was a good way to resolve the differences between the three communities.
Yeah, he said it went great.
Very equitable.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
so just to pass that along.
Any more board discussion? Ms. Shoup?
Yes.
Ms. Howerton?
Yes.
Mr. Brantley?
Yes.
Ms. Compton Twist?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. 15B, consider approval to award contract for Avon Elementary School HVAC renovations to Air Mechanical and Service Corporation, SBHC, 2122-46. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Brantley, a second from Mrs. Shoup. Any more public discussion? Back to the board for discussion. Mr. Brantley?
Yes.
Ms. Shoup?
Yes.
Ms. Howerton?
Yes.
Ms. Compton Twist?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. 15C, consider approval for the 2022-2023 salary schedule. Do you have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Shoup, a second from Mr. Brantley. Public discussion? Back to the board for discussion? Great.
Until everything's finalized, I think it will.
Yeah.
As it is.
Ms. Shoup?
Yes.
Ms. Brantley?
Yes.
Ms. Compton Twist?
Yes.
Ms. Howerton?
Yes.
Sorry. Chair votes yes. Sorry, got out of order there. 15D, consider approval to award contract for furnish HVAC filters to Tri-Dim Filter Corporation, SBHC 2122-29.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Brantley, second from Ms. Howerton. Public discussion. Back to the board for discussion.
I'd like to see sometime that we would have more than one bid.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
I think it's just the times. I don't know. It's busy and they probably,
Yeah.
people just have more work than they can do, so. Mr. Brantley?
Yes.
Ms. Howerton?
Yes.
Ms. Shoup?
Yes.
Ms. Compton Twist?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. 16, any emergency items? 17, legislative issues? No. 18, planning and zoning? 19, HCEA, HCESPA members' comments. I believe they are here. Come on up.
You know the rules.
I'm Mark Davis, president of non-instructional. Next week, we're going in to do some more negotiations. Got a little bit of tweaking needs to be done. Hopefully it works out where we can close that door and put it behind us. That's all I got to say.
Excellent. We feel the same way, I'm sure.
Yes.
Hi, Jim Demchak. First of all, congratulations on thinking outside the box and to move your starting pay up so you can be competitive and attract. I left you all a spreadsheet that obviously shows some unintended consequences. To have the same pay for an 18-year veteran as a beginning teacher will not attract you many veterans to this county.
We expressed that at the bargaining table, that's why we didn't accept at the time. It's an excellent offer from the school board, and we're very impressed for both units. We like the way we're moving, but I think a little tweaking needs to be done, and to try to do it, see it for the first time and make a decision in a small window of time was just a little more than either unit could do at the time. So we're not complaining about what you've got on the table, but I think they both need a little bit of tweaking. 15, 16, 17-year veteran living in Lake Placid, you can go down to Moore Haven and make $10,000 more. Is a concern I think you should have for the students of this county. So take a look at it. If we have to move something around, we'll work with you. I just think to have it look like that is not going to be attractive to a veteran. And listening to the talks tonight, you need teachers. Some veterans will help the youngsters that you get as well. So, thank you.
Nothing?
School board attorney comments?
The first thing I'll say is my apologies again for letting that one get through that without the nod on it. We've been trying to look at each of these things and not let that slide through again. Everything has been revised. All the new ones going out do have the correct thing on it. We'll try to get that addressed. Secondly, Mr. Sapp is correct. I did call him and apologize. He had presented a proper matter to me, which I misread. Once I reread it after we talked last week, he was absolutely correct. And so I called him back and we discussed it and hopefully got all that worked out. I think so anyway. Appreciate it. The next issue I have is at the Florida School Board Attorneys Conference that we had. It was really quite a conference, I have to tell you that. One of the most active I've ever participated in. And the matters that came up I've been addressing with staff, and we've been working through those things. But one of the things that came up, I have not yet discussed this with staff, but I think it's the right thing to do. It's really a board decision. And that is whether or not to continue to advertise these job descriptions. It came out at the meeting that most of the school districts in the state no longer advertise job descriptions. They simply present it to the board for adoption, and the board considers it and adopts it. It certainly still comes to the board. The requirement to advertise a job description, if it ever was a requirement, started with a case that's an old case now, and it had a footnote in it that addressed the issue, kind of glossed into it. And so as a result of that case, most districts actually began advertising, and then they realized, what are we doing? It's just, we're spending a lot of money on something that really is sometimes ridiculously unnecessary. And that's going to be my position, okay? I think we should go away from that and just move to bring it before the board like any other action item, address it and move forward and not go through the advertising process. So
that makes sense.
That would be my recommendation.
It is quite expensive.
It is very expensive. Save money. Let's save money everywhere we can. We need to try to work with the county too. And there's some things that are in the works right now. Let's put it that way. We'll see how much we can say. I was shocked when I picked up the newspaper, opened it up and saw just all those. We're supporting the newspaper in classifieds. It seemed to me, really. So we need to work on that. I'm sure the newspaper's delighted that we are, by the way, and I'm sorry that unintended consequences do occur. The only other thing I have is it's been a great week for me, and I must tell you I'm so pleased that my daughter and my 4-year-old granddaughter are visiting with me right now. They came down for a Father's Day, a first ever from New York City, and it has just been a wonderful, wonderful week that I've spent. I'm filled with joy. I will share that with you. Thank you. That's all I've got.
He even took a phone call from me while he was, and I said, thanks for sharing.
Ms. Shoup.
Just want to thank everyone for coming, and all of the emails and phone calls from the Hillgustat leadership. Your opinion went a long way. Also, Mr. Statler got this. And I was going to say something else, and I don't have a lot of things written down here. But just want to, bottom line, thank you all for coming out, and we really do appreciate. We were saying before the board meeting how we used to have 2 or 3 people here, and we like this much better. We like feedback and the information that you give us. So thank you very much for taking time away from your family and your home to be here.
Ms. Compton-Twist?
Okay, I'll echo what Ms. Shoup said, that we do certainly appreciate everyone coming out. And we appreciate each and every one of you that come up to the mic and give us your opinion. We like to see both sides, because just like we as a board don't always agree, I know that we as a community may have differing opinions, but that is the right of the public comment time, and we want to see all sides so that we can make better decisions. And like you guys point out, we're here for our community and we're all here for the students, so we appreciate that. And I certainly appreciate all the members from Hillgustat, not only those of you who are here, but those of you who took the time to call and to email. And yes, I did get some opinions on both sides, as I'm sure everyone did. So that was very, very helpful. And Mr. Statler, for your survey, I have already taken it. So I was already aware of it, and I have already taken the survey. And to just make one further comment, when you're up at the podium, it is public comment time. That is your time to express your opinions. It is not our time to get in a back and forth debate. So that is why we leave that time for you to give your public comment. So we are more than happy if you want to email us or if you want to call us.
Mr. Brantley?
Same thing. Thank you for everyone coming out, and I will do the survey.
Ms. Howerton?
Just to echo, I want to thank Hillgustat. From hearing from actually a couple of the teachers actually said, we didn't even know we could do this. So I said, yes, by all means, anytime you have something that you need to address to the board, you know, you have my phone number, or Mrs. Wellborn can share it with you. I'd be happy to speak to you. And thank you for everyone else who got up and spoke. Mr. Statler, I've been trying to, I know the last 2 meetings, I've been writing down the comments that have been spoken, and in my ending comments, I've tried to address which ones I could. Now, I'm going to look at the survey from Governor DeSantis, and also I did want to address in my concerns tonight. We did give direction to the superintendent on the Health Education Committee. I know we've lost Dr. Campbell. I think the superintendent had shared who she thought she might put over that committee. I've also gotten concerns. And I think it's great that we reached out to our pastors. But again, I think the more we start having these little separate groups, that's not fair to the committee either. So I would hope that we would try to, I would hope maybe next week I've at least got some meeting dates or something. And I don't know why we keep putting this off. So, but I would like to see the health education process start.
So just to speak to that, so everyone in this room will know, after our last board meeting, there was a resignation that I got the next day from our Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Programs. So I've opened that position up. That will be closing this week, and I'm very hopeful that we will have interviews even as early as this week, the end of the week, for that particular position.
So you're not going to go with the names you mentioned? You had said Mrs. Blackman and Mr. Lethbridge would lead that.
After having some conversation with staff, we felt like it was better to move into this direction. So that will be one of the very first tasks that this new person that is over the secondary programs, the curriculum and instruction, will be tackling. Like I said, I do believe that we will most likely have those interviews this week, and they will be able to move forward with that work since they will be the one over that content. So that's where we are with that.
Okay. Just like Mr. McClure, I have family here tonight. My wife is actually at her first school board meeting with me. So my mother-in-law was also here earlier. She stepped out. And my daughter just came in right before the meeting. She's the first time she's been in town in about a year and a half. She's up in Jacksonville. We visit her a lot, but it's good to have her in town. So she did not come to the meeting. She's taking a test for college, so she's taking summer school. So, and Mr. Statler, if he's here, I took the survey, and my prized possession that I have, the governor actually signed a baseball and sent it to me, and I have it in my little mantle, and I love that. So it's one of my favorite possessions. So Excited about that, and I will call this meeting adjourned, and we will go to our executive session.